Hello, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here today. My name is Felicia, and this is the live office hours for the School of Sweet Georgia. So, this is some place where we meet once a month, every month, the last Thursday of every month, and we just catch up about all of the things that have been happening inside the school over the past month, and just wanting to really share a lot of what everyone is making and what everybody's been learning, what everybody's been doing. It's really, really nice to see you guys here on the chat today. This is really great. I'm very excited. This is actually going to be our last meeting of the year. So our live office hours in November is the last one for the year. We usually skip the December one, but we have something else planned for December. So hopefully that will be good for everyone. But yeah, this usually runs for about an hour, and we just catch up about all the things that everybody's been making inside the school. I also talk about what we're releasing inside the school, what we're working on behind the scenes, and things like that. And so I have actually a lot to share with you guys today. Really, really excited about today. Nice to see you all. Yes, wonderful. So just as a starter, you can see this is kind of the run through of what we're going to be working on today, what we're going to be talking about today. So you can see we kind of talk about what's top of mind, latest updates, upcoming events, the community, and where you can basically connect and meet each other and chat and all that kind of stuff. And there's always a block for Q&A, although we don't have very many questions. A lot of the questions get answered inside the Discord channel or on the SOS forum. So by the time we get to this moment, a lot of the questions have already been answered. And it's something nice to also, if you have questions during the call, you are more than welcome to pop them into the chat box, and then I will have a look and then see what we can do to help answer any questions you guys have as we go along. And then the biggest part of all of our meetings is basically a share your win section where we're getting the opportunity to look at what everyone has been making, and that is actually the most fun, the best part. So let's go and talk about what is top of mind. And I think that the thing that is sort of at the forefront of my mind right now is something that basically happened last week, and we talked about this. And we have been talking for a long time. Our main question that we've been asking ourselves for a long time is, how can we be helpful? What can we do for the community? And if we are making things that are helpful, if we're making information that's helpful, if we're making teaching content and inspiring content that is hopefully helpful, how do we get it to more people? And so I've been saying this for about 2 years now, trying to figure out how to best do this. And I think that what we're going to do is we're going to finally do something about that. And that is basically what I talked about on last week's YouTube video, about basically breaking off a separate channel specifically for weaving. And so if you are coming to the school and you are interested in weaving, we are going to have like a dedicated channel for weaving specifically on YouTube. So you can find it. It's actually Sweet Georgia Weaving is the name of the channel. And so hopefully this dedicated YouTube channel will help sort of bring together more weavers and be able to learn from each other and share more and just go more in depth in terms of weaving. Like then we can talk about, more weave structures. We can talk about more blending. We can talk about more things specifically to do with weaving. And then that basically allows us to sort of maintain like the main YouTube channel that we've always had and maintain that more around knitting, more around crochet, more around spinning, knitting with your hand spun. So a lot of ideas like that. A lot of people have asked for more CSM, like circular sock knitting machine content. Some people have asked for machine knitting content. So all of that kind of stuff is still multi-craftual. Still, a lot of that kind of stuff will be on the main YouTube channel, which is where you're watching this. I mean, this will continue to be on the main YouTube channel. I mean, one day, depending on how things go, maybe we spin off a spinning channel specifically for spinning. But at this moment, this is how we're kind of going to do it. We're going to have one main channel dedicated to the multi-craftual side: knitting, spinning, machine knitting, CSM, crochet, things you can do with yarn, and then a separate channel specifically to do with weaving and looms and weave structures and all of that kind of stuff. So it has been actually really interesting and really encouraging to see how many people are speaking up and saying that they are multi-craftual. I thought that it was like a really funny, I wasn't sure how many people would be doing all of these different crafts, but it's been nice to hear from so many people who are saying, well, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. So the trickiest part of being able to connect with everybody is to be able to find like a common place. And I know that from the comments that I've been getting that just because we post something doesn't mean that people actually ever see it. So the one and only way at the end of the day, like if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the weaving channel, you're on the Discord, you're in the SOS forums, at the end of the day, the only way that we can connect with you is through email. And so this is something that Bridget, she's here on the chat, she works very, very hard behind the scenes every single day to do all of the communications for Sweet Georgia to make sure that everybody's hearing about all of the things that we're doing. And that is kind of the only way. So if you're not already on our email list, I would encourage you guys to do that. And if you're in the school, then you are already on the email list. So you'll hopefully know all of the things that are going on, all the meetings that come up, all of the stuff. There's quite a bit of stuff. So that's kind of how we are heading into the new year. Hopefully that's good. Elena is saying, I love the neckline on your sweater. Thank you. This sweater, what was it called? Is it called Halu? This is a Caitlin Hunter design. I believe it's called Halu. I do love this V-neck as well. And then Elena, you're saying, honestly, I have to say, if the weaving content had been split off earlier, to be honest, it was watching the weaving content on your videos that intrigued me into trying it. Yes, so that is the thing. It's like we have to somehow maintain this main channel as being multi-craftual, and I want to show you hints of weaving. I do want to show you weaving because I do think that a lot of people have, discovered, been intrigued by and curious about weaving because we talked about it here on this main channel. But to go like super in depth into weaving, I feel a little bit like we lose we lose a lot of people. We're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I would like to create a space where everybody's like, oh, I know what you're talking about and I want to learn more. And so that's kind of trying to find that balance, trying to stay multi-craftual here without losing anybody's interest. So that's what that all is. Yeah. So the other thing that I wanted to share and talk about today was I kind of went back into sort of the very first presentation that I did in January. I was looking at January, looking at February, looking at the things that we were talking about then, because at the start of the year, we always do this thing about plan your make 9. What are the 9 things that you're going to make this year? And I was recently on the Multi-Craftual meetup that we had on a Monday, and I think Robin was there. Robin, who's one of our moderators, and Robin was there, and she was like, I've checked off everything on my Make 9. And then at that meeting, I was like, I wonder if I have. I had a lot of plans about the things that I wanted to make and do this year, and I had to go back to my original sort of January, February notes to see what I had intended on making and if those things actually came true. And so I thought this would actually be a great time also for you if you had been looking at, goals at the start of the year, kind of checking in and seeing how that's all been going for you. So I have here what I worked on. So this is kind of what happened and how it looks. So you can see on my Make 9 here, can you see my cursor? Oh, yes, yes. So there was a couple of weaving things that I wanted to do. So I wanted to weave some summer and winter blocks. And so I had done some sampling for that. I had wanted to do waffle weave and explore waffle weave. And so I've so far done a 4-shaft sample of that. I need to do way more sampling for the waffle weave. Hand-painted warps, that was something I'd planned to do, and so we did release the class this past month. Actually, November is when we released the class for hand-painted warps. Super, super excited about that course. That's kind of like the culmination of many, many years of wanting to do that exact thing. Spin and knit another sweater. So this is the pile of fiber that I prepped for gradient spinning, and this is going to become that hand-spun, hand-knit sweater. And so that is on its way. Spin and knit for the night shift shawl. So I'm currently knitting the shawl. I have to spin one more braid of fiber and then it will finish this shawl. So that's kind of in the works. It's all happening. Double weave twill on 8 shafts. So I basically picked some colors that we're going to use for a double weave blanket for next year. So that's kind of still on the way. Designing stripes and plaids. I did make the course. I'm actually going to be editing the course in like a couple of weeks, but the course on how to design stripes and plaids and things like that. And this is a fantastic book that I'm really, really excited to share with you in that class. And it's all about all of these different sets, all of these different designs that have been recorded. There's all this historical information about how these tartan designs were recorded. So I'm really, really excited to share that with you. But that was on my plate this year, and I did make the class about that. Now we just have to weave some things. Machine knitting with some color work and hand-dyed yarns. So I had to pause on the color work side of things with the machines to get them kind of like up and running. But I did machine knit a ton of things for our booth in Chicago. And so that kind of happened. I made a whole bunch of these cowls, and then my plan was to learn how to make CSM ribbed socks, like to use the ribber and figure out how to make rib socks. And so rather than making rib socks this year, because I didn't get around to using the ribber, I did learn to make mock ribbed socks. And so that is a video that is on the channel here as well. So I did a bunch of things that were related to my Make 9, and things are kind of in progress. And then I felt a little bit down about myself, but then I sort of took a minute and I paused and I thought about all of the other things that I did make. And so in addition to sort of the 9 things that were like made in progress and things like that, there were a whole bunch of other things that kind of came up during the year, which added to all of what I actually made. So this is like the summer and winter that I wanted to work on. It's happening. This is the warp of a double weave blanket that just sprung up in the middle of the year, and so I made that. This is the Jethro cardigan that also came up in the middle of the year, and didn't intend to ever make anything like that, and then it just kind of jumped out at me. And now I like that process so much, I'm making a second one for Nina, and that is, it's about like 85% done. And then I ended up making a whole bunch of hats this year. I'm trying to get back into hand knitting now that my hands are a little bit like more work usable. My hands are working now. I've been doing a little bit of hand knitting, just like slowly. And so I've been knitting some hats. I knit the WPI hat, the wraps per inch hat, which was awesome. We'll talk about that a little bit. Weaving this winterful weave along right now with this log cabin. Did not expect to do that this November, but I am doing it. And then I have another thing right now where I am writing an article about sectional warping. And so that came up this year that I hadn't intended. And then the other big thing that I sort of started getting into this year was really putting into practice that fiber prep technique where we're dizzing everything through a hand card or through the blending board. I really have adopted that method because I like how smooth the fiber prep is. I like a worsted spun yarn, so I really like the smooth, just very parallel alignment of all the fibers. I really like that effect. And so those things have all come up. And so the intended Make 9, is happening. And then more things came up. So I'm actually quite okay with all of that. And Lauren is saying, I've made some of my Make 9, feeling okay that I didn't complete all of it. And I think that that's kind of how I feel as well. I'm okay that I didn't check off every single box because there were other things that came up that were also good. So I'm actually pretty happy about that. Now, Elena saying, Make 9 is way too ambitious for me. On the other hand, I did finally finish 2 pairs of socks on my needles for 2 years, and I'm halfway through my third, so I'm happy enough with that. Yeah, Make 9 is actually like a really, really, it's a big challenge. It's like a big year-long challenge. To make 9 things is quite a lot. So yeah, congratulations on knitting your socks and getting things off the needles, especially if they've been on the needles for a couple of years. You're going to feel like sort of a bit of a burden, like a hanging around kind of burden. So I'm really, really excited to hear about that. Yeah, Greta saying the wonderful rabbit holes. Yeah, you get just kind of like sucked into all of these new and exciting things and just follow your curiosity is kind of what I've been telling my kids all the time. Is just follow your curiosity, follow the things that are getting you excited and interested, and just keep going with that and see where it leads you. So I have a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys in terms of updates. And so normally in this section, we will talk about like the new classes that are coming up. We'll talk about what make-alongs are happening right now or what make-alongs are going to be coming up. And so I'm going to share a couple of things with you. And the first thing is that pretty much every month we've been releasing a new course. And so last month, November, or this month, November, our class was hand painted warps. And so our December class is going to be designing stranded colorwork sweaters with Andrea Rangel. So Andrea came and taught the class about colorwork hats. So earlier this year, you might have watched her class where she was knitting swatches in the round, and then she would steek her swatches and she blocked them, she measured gauge, she did a whole bunch of calculations so that then she could design a hat, because a hat is a relatively straightforward piece of knitting. And then from there, this is kind of the next step, next level. So Andrea is taking all of that information that you would have learned and experienced in that first class about knitting colorwork and bringing it to this next class, which is to design a whole sweater. And so she goes more into like the motifs, how to manage the motifs, because you can see like with the yoke sweater, it's not straight up and down. Like with a hat, you're knitting basically your motifs straight up, and then you just do all your crown shaping. And so in the crown shaping section, for her course, there was no color work happening in the crown decrease section. But here on this yoke, you can see that there's going to be increases made, and as the increases are made or the decreases are made, as the yoke shaping is happening, those motifs have to change size as well. They have to change their dimensions. And so she shows how she worked through that, how she swatched for that, how she tested a number of different ideas in order to get that to work. And then she's designed this sweater, which is, this pattern is now, will be available for you as well. Greta's saying this course is coming to the school next week. But this pattern is called Falling Leaves, and this is also going to be available as well. And so this sweater, she knit this out of our SweetGeorgia BFL and Silk DK. So DK weight yarn, very manageable, very usable. Pretty, it's a nice gauge to knit at. So not too tiny, not fingering weight. But yeah, all of these techniques, all of these skills could be translated to anything. So whatever kind of design you want to work on. So yeah, Andrea has two books of stitch motifs. One is called Knit Ovation and the other one is Alternate. And so in each one of these books, there's pages and pages and pages of all these motifs that you can choose from. And she has like very classic ones. She has ones inspired by nature, but she has also like very quirky and punny and funny ones. So she has things that are like, pigs flying, and she has zombies, and she has like so many like very cute motifs that you can choose from. Yeah, so if you are interested in color work in preparation for this class to come out next week, we do have other classes on the school that you can kind of like watch in advance. We have a modern colorwork knitting class. You could watch her her first class, which is the hat class. Also, there's stranded colorwork mittens with Caitlin Shepard is also on our school. And then there's also a class called Mastering Gauge, and that's one is with Tabitha, and really, really important about getting gauge or being able to measure gauge so that you can do all your calculations really correctly so that you can make something that fits. You spend all this time knitting, you definitely want something that fits you. So yeah, really, really excited for this to come out. And yeah, thank you to the team for pulling all of this together. Bridget shot these photos, and there's just been a lot of work behind the scene from Greta and Kathy and Vicky to get this course ready. And so we're really excited to have this out for you guys very soon, next week. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to share. These are like congratulations and celebrations, and really, really want to highlight some awesome things that are happening. You guys will know that one of our spinning instructors, Debbie Held, Debbie teaches the course on spinning with an e-spinner. She's taught blending boards with us. She taught spinning textured yarns with us. And Debbie has a new book that is coming out. And the book is coming out in May, I think it is. I'll have to double check. But the book is coming out later. It'll actually say on that link when you go to the shop.sweetgeorgiayarns link for the blending board book, we have it available right now for pre-order. And so the book is on pre-order right now, and then it will come later on this year. I think it's like April or May. And then that's when the book is actually going to be released. And I got a chance to read through like a preview copy of the book. It's fantastic. I'm really, really excited about this because Debbie has been such a strong supporter of the blending board, and now she's able to put all of that information into this book. And it's about like blending board and all the different ways that you can use it. And so she kind of talks about this blending board as being like the one tool to rule them all. Like if you have one blending board, then you don't need a whole bunch of, other tools. You can just use this blending board to make all sorts of different fiber preps. Everything, like she says, from worsted to woolen, right? Everything in between. You can make a parallel fiber prep. You can make a super blended up carded fiber prep. You can do all sorts of crazy things. And so really, really excited to see this come into the world. So the photo on the right-hand side is some Rolex that she made for us for the course that we did about blending boards. And I remember that when we first filmed this class, it was during the pandemic. And so Debbie and I, we had filmed her class where she was at her home in Atlanta, and I was here in Vancouver, and we filmed it over Zoom where she was at her side with a camera, and then I was on Zoom with her watching her film. And it was a time. It was a very exciting time. And after she'd made these beautiful Rolex, she packed them in a box and then shipped them to Vancouver so that we could take photos of them. And so that's how we managed to do things that time. But yeah, really excited to see this come into the world. So congratulations to Debbie on that. And then hope you guys are interested in doing blending boards as well. As I said, down at the bottom here, there's going to be a focus on fiber prep coming in 2025. And we'll talk about that more very soon. But yeah, I think that now is the time to sort of learn more about how we prepare the spinning fiber before we actually go into spinning it, because so much is determined by how you prepare the fiber. And this is becoming more and more obvious now that we have this fiber prep group that meets every month with Greta, and so many conversations about what to do with the fiber before you actually sit down to spin it. So that's that one. We also have congratulations for our other spinning instructors, Kim McKenna, Diana Twiss, and Katrina Stewart. This is the cover of the latest issue of Spin-Off magazine. So it's a winter 2025 issue of Spin-Off magazine. Congratulations to these three amazing spinners and fiber artists, because this cover talks about an article that Kim wrote about how to use value keys to design your handspun. So that's the first thing. So she talked about how to design the handspun, and then she spun the fiber to make the yarn. And then Diana designed the pattern for the fingerless mitts using Kim's handspun. And then Katrina Stewart from Crafty Jacks, she dyed the fiber that was spun into the handspun that made the mitts. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm really, really excited to see all three of these amazing, wonderful spinners featured on the cover of Spin-Off magazine. So congratulations so much to all of these wonderful people who are doing wonderful things in the world. And again, I'm really excited to see this issue because fingerless mitts is like a great way to use your handspun, and you get to enjoy them, you get to see them, and you get to make this thing that's like small enough. I think Diana talks about how like the mitts are a swatch, almost like it's sampling. It's a chance to use your handspun. And Rachel Smith, our other spinning instructor, talks about this all the time. Use your handspun, use your handspun. The more you use it, the more you'll learn about how you want to spin to make the next bunch of handspun. So yeah, excited to look more into all of this. But you can see right now I am on the bottom here of all of these slides. I'm including a lot of the crafts that are included in each one of these things, because we're going to be talking more about this. So, what is featured here includes dyeing, it includes fiber prep, it includes spinning. Oh, I missed one. It actually includes knitting as well. So it is definitely very multi-craftual happening here. Now, let's go on to other things that are happening inside the school and what we've been working on in the community as well. And so the other thing that we've been doing is that for September to December, we've been kind of focusing on spinning gradients. And like before that, the season before that, we were spinning fractal yarns. And so I finally prepped all of my fiber that's going to go into my gradient spinning project. And I prepped all of this originally on hand cards, and then I found that it was a lot of fiber to process. And so I did get myself a blending board, and then managed to go through the process much quicker. And so that has been really, really great. But everything's been separated. I weighed out. I basically separated all the colors. I weighed out each bundle of colors. So all the purples, I weighed those. And then I divided it into 3 sections. And then same with the blues, same with the olives, and then same with the lighter greens. And so all of that is happening. And if you guys are also spinning gradients, I would love to see that in the SOS forums if you're posting there. That would be really, really great. So that is still happening. The other thing that's happening is the Winterful Weave Along. This is something that was open to the entire community. This is basically anybody who wants to weave on either a rigid heddle loom or a multi-shaft loom. We're weaving color and weave in plain weave. And so this has been like the feature for many of the videos that we've been making for that new YouTube channel, the SweetGeorgia Weaving channel. So there's lots of conversation about it on Discord. I also see it on the SOS forums is there as well. So that has been really, really cool to see everybody working on the projects. And so there are a few that have already finished. And so I'll share those with you very soon. But you can see that that's what the pattern was looking like. If you still want to join in, it's not too late. We are basically doing this until the 23rd of December. And then hopefully on the 23rd of December, we'll be able to share some more finished projects. But in the meantime, lots of people are still warping, weaving. I'm only about this much into my weaving, like I maybe 10 inches. I have quite a while to go. So I think somebody said at the start, somebody said that they were weaving on their kaleidoscope this morning. In any case, the other thing that we've been doing this season, this block, September to December, is we've been talking about block weaves in the weaving group for SOS. So the block weaves, this group, oh yeah, and Nicole, you're doing it. So yeah, we have been talking about block weaves. We've been talking about some overshot. I think in our weaving group, I don't think anybody was working on crackle. I know Lauren, you were weaving some summer and winter. I know Meredy was weaving some overshot. There was more overshot than anything else. It was mostly overshot. And then we had also had some conversations about sampling. We had conversations about being able to beat hard enough to get the graphic or the motif to look correct and things like that. And so all of those conversations in the SOS Weaving block are archived on the website, so you can find them there as well. So that is going on until the end of December. Now, the next thing is I mentioned this earlier, that this is the course that came out this past month. And this was about weaving hand-painted warps. And so you can see it covers both weaving and dyeing. There's like entire dyeing modules inside that course, dyeing both with acid dyes on wool and also with fiber reactive dyes on cotton. And so this is the thing that is currently on my loom that I need to weave off this weekend so I can free up my loom. And then I'm going to rewarp it very, very quickly. So that's something that I'm really excited to do. But I wanted to show you this. This is a warp that didn't end up making it into the course itself, but I think I showed rinsing out this warp. There was a lot of dye in this warp. So I showed rinsing it out, and this is what it is, weaving it. But this past weekend, I wanted to share something with you. I was at Pender Island, and on Pender, they have like a farmer's market every Saturday. And during the winter months, they moved the farmer's market indoors into their sort of town hall. And so inside the town hall, I went to go visit on Saturday, and there was a weaver who had set up all of their beautiful, incredibly gorgeous scarves for sale. So on one side are all of the colored scarves, all the dyed scarves, and then on the other side were all of the natural colored scarves. So you can kind of see it barely peeking through. So the natural colors are on the other side. But all of these scarves are hand painted silk, hand painted tencel, hand spun silk, hand spun yarn, and then hand woven. Like, unbelievable amount of work to make these beautiful, beautiful scarves. Hand woven, hand spun, hand dyed, hand painted, and then they're made with silk. There was tencel, there was yak, there's some merino. It's just absolutely stunning. And so, from what I'm thinking, because she's using hand painted tencel, tencel is a cellulose product, so you would dye that with fiber reactive dyes. So I imagine that she's also using fiber reactive dyes to dye the silk as well, which is possible, and creating these gorgeous scarves. So I wanted to share that with you because this is like another application of the same techniques that we were learning in the course about hand painting scarves, hand painting warps. But someone else has made these beautiful things. And it's just neat to see how people interpret, the same kind of techniques can be done all sorts of different ways. And so these are from Joyce Thayer Fiber Arts, on Pender Island. So if you ever find your way over there to the Gulf Islands, there are lots and lots of fiber artists on the Gulf Islands doing some beautiful, beautiful work. On the other side, you can kind of barely see it. Maybe if you are really, really close up to your screen, you might be able to see it, but she's also used hand spun silk that was spun from natural colored silk. So there was some that was airy silk, there was some silk that was naturally more red or orange, some that was more brown, some that was more beige, some that was more white. And so she spun all of these natural colored silks and then wove them together in a bunch of twill block kind of patterns. So it was really just stunning, stunning work. So yeah, I encourage you guys to look around and see what people are making. I know there's like lots of holiday markets and things like that also happening. Lots of places to find fiber artists and textile artists. Now, this is the last course that I wanted to mention again. And so this is a course that was taught by Rachel Smith on spin to knit a hat. And I'm very excited that I actually knit the hat. That's the wraps per inch hat. We'll show this hat again because someone else made it as well. But this wraps per inch hat pattern is so, so handy. If you have hand spun, all you need to do is measure the wraps per inch on a ruler to figure out, how many wraps per inch. And then that will determine what your needle size is. That determines what your stitch count is going to be, like how many stitches you cast on. And then you just, follow the little chart that has been given, and then you can make a hat basically out of any hand spun that you have. So that has been really, really fun. This was my fractal spun yarn, but I held it double. So there was even more mixing and blending of the colors. And it ended up being kind of like a worsted weight. I think I cast on 88 stitches. Like, it was a great, great pattern to have and so handy. Yeah, it was a great hat to knit. So if you haven't knit one of those, I encourage you to do that over the holidays maybe. It's like a nice, restful knit. Now, upcoming events, I want to share with you our December schedule. December, what we have here is our crafternoons on Mondays with Robin. So those are 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with Robin. Those happen usually every other week. And then we have a weaving meetup, our SOS Weavers meetup on December the 9th. And that one, I will be out of town, but I will do the meeting from the hotel. I'm hoping that I can find a very quiet spot where the internet is not too bad, and be on that meeting. So I'm excited to do that. And then the week after that, we're going to do the Multi-Craftual Makers Meetup on the Monday night. And hopefully at that one, we'll be able to share more of the kaleidoscope scarves that have been done, or anything else that you've been working on. Maybe we'll talk about gradient yarns, all sorts of things like that. And then you'll notice that there usually would be a fiber prep meeting, either like on one of the other Mondays, but we're going to hold off on the fiber prep meeting with Greta until the new year because Greta is going away as well. So she'll be out of town. So that's what the Monday sort of schedule looks like. As well, we still have an inkle weaving and a tapestry meetup that happens on Wednesdays. And so those are continuing to happen. Those are community-led ones. So you might not find, sometimes you might not find a Sweet Georgia team person there, but members of our community are really, really interested and excited about doing tapestry and inkle weaving. And so I know that you guys are meeting and chatting about all these things, which is fantastic. The purple blocks on Friday, those are the community-led quiet co-working sessions. So those are moments where everybody's getting online, they sit together on Zoom, and then they work on their projects silently for about an hour. And then after that hour is up, then they can like turn on their microphones again and chat and things like that. But that has been a really, really great way of people getting a lot of things done. Because when you have somebody sitting there, even if they're like remote and they're on Zoom, just the fact that they're there on camera with you somehow gets you to focus on your work and get your stuff done. So it's been really effective for that. The other thing we have is second Friday of every month, we do the live stream on the YouTube channel for Taking Back Friday. So that's going to happen. And then we're adding one last thing for the year, and that is December the 20th, Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We are going to do a Zoom meetup for our entire community. So everybody is welcome. So anybody in the Sweet Georgia community, anybody on SOS members, you are all more than welcome to come. And that will be kind of like our end of the year celebration, get together, bring a project to work on, bring something that you made this year that you're super, super proud of and you want to share with people. And we're going to do some giveaways. We're going to do some prizes. We have some things to share on that day as well. So if you are able to make it, that's kind of our holiday celebration day. So December the 20th, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And the Zoom link is in the calendar right now. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that the weaving meetup and the fiber prep meetup, we are hoping to open those up to the entire community in 2025. And so we are going to start to make those links a little bit more available. So in case you're seeing more people join the meeting, you're not confused about where everybody came from. I think that we really, really want to encourage more community building, and we want you all to make more connections and meet more people who are interested in the same kinds of things. And so we thought that sort of opening it up to the community would be really, really a great way to get inspiration from each other, meet more people, get more inspired, and we're hoping that that will be really like fun for everybody. So that is going to be happening in the new year as well. Fantastic. Oh, one last thing I should mention is that the studio, Sweet Georgia Studio here in Vancouver, we are actually closed between December 24th and we reopen, I believe, on January 2nd. It'll say on the website. But yeah, the studio is entirely closed and everyone is at home and perhaps not answering email very rapidly because everybody's home with their families and resting and celebrating and all those kinds of things. So if you do happen to sort of message on, say, like December 27th, you may have to wait a few days before we can get back to you. So just to let you know, because it is really important that everybody gets a chance to sort of rest at the end of the year before we go into 2025 and all the things that we want to do there. So this is the last thing that I wanted to mention about events, and that is the Winterful Weave Along, which is happening right now. The next time that we meet will be December 9th at that Weavers meeting, and then we have the Open Multicraftual meetup on December 16th, and then 23rd of December is when we sort of wrap everything up. And so if you're still interested in finding out more about this Weave Along, you can go to that link, sweetgeorgiayarns.com/Winterful Weave Along. And that has been really, really fun to see everybody making things. Yeah. So community is basically just a reminder that if you want to find the spot where you can meet everybody and connect with everybody inside the school, it is under the community tab. It's the main Ooh, here, where's my cursor? Ah, here, the main tab here, community. And then there's all these different places where you can meet everybody and chat and stuff like that. But the community forums are here under community forums. There's also the Discord. There's a link to the Discord as well. And then there's the interest groups. So that's where if you want to just talk about multi-shaft weaving, you can find a group. If you just want to talk about tapestry, you can find a group. As well, this is where you'd find the events calendar that we have, all the upcoming live streams, all the recordings of the previous meetings. Everything is here under the community tab. And then a reminder of the Discord. So the Discord also is a very chatty place. It's just a different kind of, conversation, a different style, different style of conversation. But yeah, all of these different chat groups are up. And so, in October we had Socktober, so we were talking about that. Now we are talking a lot in this Winterful Weave Along channel here. If these channels are not showing up for you, you can add them. There's like a little plus sign here. You just kind of no, maybe that's not it. But there are, all the channels are there. They might be sort of hidden until you add them to your account. So we can help you out with that if you need help with that. So now, I'm finding my cursor. Okay, now we're going to go to things that you have made. So we're talking about this one came into the forums basically right after I did the October live office hour. So I didn't get a chance to share about this, but this is for Socktober. Norma Jean made these socks. She knit these socks. The first pattern was called Egyptian Queen. And then the second pattern, this blue one here, she designed these socks herself. And she calls them chandelier, but she designs them. So the Egyptian Queen one, she said, is interesting because the most unique thing about the pattern is the heel. And it's called a fleagle heel. And so the effect that it produces is there's a woven effect on the heel. You can kind of see very up close, but there's a woven effect. Very, very cool. She said the pattern requires a lot of concentration because at times there are 3 different charts to follow just to knit one round. So this is a massively challenging project. So congratulations on knitting those socks. And then the second pair, this blue ones, are her own design, and the inspiration was a pair of long dangling earrings, which are known as chandelier earrings. And so she combined 3 different lace patterns in the same sock and then used a traditional heel flap and gusset. So that is gorgeous, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful sock knitting and also designing. We have here also, this is, I think, the first kaleidoscope scarf that was finished. And so Leanne shared this both on Discord and in the forums. And this one I put as weaving and dyeing because in addition to weaving the scarf, log cabin, she also dyed some of this yarn. And so the purple main color is a hand-dyed skein of merino. And she said it was a single one that resulted from using up some dye stock. So she can't reproduce this purple color because she was using up leftover dye. But she's happy that somehow it ended up into a scarf. And then she used it, mixed it with a bunch of the gold colors, some of its commercial yarn and things like that. So it's really, really lovely. I do love the contrast between the purple and the yellow. They are complementary colors. You find that like something that's super, super purple or something that's super, super yellow, when you blend it with its complement, it kind of mellows them both out. So if you were to look from this from far away, you get kind of like a honey brown sort of vibe from all of it. So there's more photos on the SOS forum, so you can find the whole strip of all the photos that she has. But that's actually super, super beautiful. I was so surprised. Leanne finished like within 3 days of starting, I think. It's really, really fast. I have another scarf to show you, and this is Greta. Greta's on the chat here. Greta made this from her own handspun. I'm really, really excited to hear this. She mentioned this at the beginning of the fiber prep meeting that just happened and that we just published on the website as well. But Greta used both her handspun for the warp and the weft. And so she said that this is the first thing that she's ever woven with her handspun. So that's really, really exciting. So I put this as spinning and weaving. I'm not sure if she dyed any of the fiber. I think the fiber was all natural natural colored wools in here. But that's really, really gorgeous. And Greta also has a number of photos in there as well. And because she finished her scarf so quickly, she started a second one. So this is Greta's second kaleidoscope scarf that she's making with some Party of Five mini skeins and also a full skein of bison. Oh yes, so Greta is saying that the previous picture, this was all silk, natural silk colors. Like we were talking about before, that the silk comes in all of these different natural colors and then you blend them all together. That's exactly what that is. That's the hand-dyed version. And so those are the first kaleidoscope scarves to sort of be completed. And there's many, many more that are in progress right now. So it's really fun to see how everybody's colors are coming together and playing here. Now, this is from Meg. Meg always shares some fantastic, fantastic photos. She's been creating a bunch of photo albums inside the community. And that's been a really, really great way to share like multiple photos of the things that she's made. And so Meg was talking about how she basically made some towels previously with another warp. So you can see here, bring my cursor over. So this one here on the left-hand side with the diamonds, this is her previous warp. And so she made a bunch of towels with this. And so you can see it's kind of like a white linen color, natural linen color for warp. And then she used a red color for weft. And she's doing these twill diamonds. And then she cut that off the loom and then used the old warp and tied on all these new warp ends. And you can see that this is the second set of towels out of that. And so she said that the original project had vertical and horizontal stripes. The new project had only one color warp and one color weft, and it was amazing how different they look. And so she's created another blog post here that you can read about as well, and then she's posted all of her photos from this in the gallery as well. So it's fantastic. Same treadling pattern, same threading, just different colors. And it just looks so, so different. Very cool. We have another hand weaving project here by Sue. Sue Peters made these holiday towels. She's making a bunch of different ones, but this is an 8-shaft pattern that she found on handweaving.net. To make these holiday towels. And then she talked about being able to carry the yarn up the side and like dealing with all different color changes. So she said she's carrying the red and the green up the sides, but she does not carry the gold up the side. These are 8-2 cotton set at 20 ends per inch. And yeah, she's going to try different treadling and then maybe change the tie up to get different patterns. So perhaps all of these holiday towels are going to be like a series of different variations. So that'll be really exciting to see when she has more of these towels, but those look really fun already. We also have a knitted baby blanket that is in the forums. This is from Kathleen. Thank you for sharing these ones. And so this is a 2-sided baby blanket. One side is entrelac, which is very, very cool because you can see all of the gradient colors like melding and changing and everything. And then on the other side is a lace pattern. And so the lace pattern and the entrelac, they kind of like go together to make this double-sided baby blanket. It's really, really pretty. And then they're finished at the sides, which is so, so nice. Really nice. We have not done any entrelac in the school. And so that would be interesting to see if people would be interested in that. It's really lovely. And then we have this one. This one, if you go to the thread in the SOS forums, this is absolutely gorgeous. So Shuin used some of our Cash Lux Fine, and it was dyed in the Tempest colorway, which is like a dark, stormy kind of blue color. And then she crocheted the entire cardigan. And then she said that she took advantage of the fact that it was snowing outside. It was like the first snowfall, and she took a whole bunch of photos. So if you go to the thread, you can see all the gorgeous photos that she had there. She said that she was worried about things maybe pooling, maybe the colors were going to pool a little bit. And she says it's always difficult to know how things will work up in crochet, but it ended up being not too bad because she crocheted without alternating skeins. and which is quite amazing. Yes. Greta is posting the link to Shuin's cardigan there as well. So thank you for that. And she says, working with this yarn felt like such a dream. It feels so soft. And she says the drape of the fabric is really, really lovely. Yeah, I think it's like things like this which make me really want to learn to crochet more things. Um, but it's actually beautiful. It turned out so, so well. Crocheting an entire garment. It's really lovely. So yeah, please do check out the photos. They look fantastic. And then we have another post here. This is by Nancy. Nancy, you can go to the thread, which I sort of linked to there, and this is all about spinning. Um, but Nancy said that the objective here was to use challenging colors and how to mix them and how to blend them together. And so you can go to the thread and then see Nancy has posted a whole series of photos, including how she prepared the fiber, like what the fiber looked like originally, how she prepared the fiber, and then all of the different variations of how she spun this and applied it and things like that. And she also talked about it on the recent fiber prep meeting. So if you want to go back and see that archived meeting with Greta, Nancy is there and they're talking about this as well. Beautiful, beautiful work. Like what a collection of hand spun and all of the different variations, all the different ways that you can take the same set of colors and then just spin them all these different ways. So this has been one of the most popular classes of this year, is like to take this braid of fiber, one hand painted braid of fiber, and all of the different ways that you can spin it. So that was really, really exciting to see. And then we have more spinning. I've kind of tried to organize them in terms of like weaving and then spinning. This next one is kind of a question a little bit. So this one is by Juliet, Juliet Page. Juliet does tons and tons of different crafts and things like that. But one of the things that she often posts about is spinning. And so she spins on an e-spinner. I believe that's the EW6 from Dreaming Robots, because it's nice and portable and things like that. But she has been trying to spin bubble crepe yarn. So this yarn is technically a 3-ply yarn, and it's supposed to create sort of like bubble textures out. You can kind of see, you can see it happening here. So you know where this orange fiber is kind of popping out between these purple plies. That's the goal, is to have some of that fiber pop out more. And so Juliet was writing about the idea of this crepe yarn is that essentially you spin a thick single in one direction and then a thin wrapper single in the same direction, okay? And then you ply them together in the opposite direction, but you overply. So that's, up to that point, it's basically how you would spin 2-ply yarn, right? You spin your singles, you're spinning 2 singles in the same direction, and then you ply the 2 singles together in the opposite direction. But in this case, you are plying twice as much. You overply. So you ply twice as much as you normally would. So you can get very, 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 very tight plied yarn. And then you spin a 3rd single in the opposite direction, and then it gets plied with the pair that's already been overplied. So Rachel talks about this construction in the Spinning for Socks class. So that is somewhere where you can find more information about this. But Debbie also spins this yarn because she also talks about this in the textured yarns class. And so Debbie answered, and she said, it's just like spinning any crepe yarn, except you're applying together the thick single with the thinner yarn as your 2-ply base. You need to double ply them together, meaning that you ply the yarn to twice its natural balance. And so that takes practice. And so what she says, what Debbie does is she just plies it like she would normally ply for a 2-ply yarn. And then she takes it off the wheel and then she will ply it again. So she'll run it back through the wheel another time, plying some more. So basically 2 times the amount of plying. And then when you put them together with the next one, with the 3rd one, then you are, yes, she says that you know that you're going to get it, that it's working when the inner thick yarn starts to bloom past the crosshatch. So you can see where these crosses are happening. Yeah, you want the yarn to poof out over that. And then that's when you know that it's working. And so she says, you know, it's very, very close, and this is really, really a cool texture to work with. So it's different styles of doing these crepe yarns, right? The bubble crepe yarn is more of a textured yarn. The crepe yarn that Rachel talked about in her class was more, it was also bubbly, but it was also designed to be knit into socks. So it was meant to be a little bit hard wearing and all these kinds of things. Just looking at different yarn structures and seeing how that would affect the finished knitted piece that you're going to be making. But that would be a really, really fun and cool session for us to all go into. Maybe one of these months we all spin crepe yarn. I think that could be really fun. But in this case, this project includes everything from dyeing the fiber to fiber prepping the fiber to then spinning all of the fiber. And if you go to the thread, you can see all of Juliet's sort of step by step how she's put all of this together. Always fun to see her photos. It's very, very cool. The next one I have here is from Robin. So Robin, one of our moderators in the school, she made this hat. This is the wraps per inch hat. This is a WPI hat. And then she says, I love this pattern. I have been spinning to learn how to spin consistently with my yarn, but I hadn't knit anything with any of my study yarn. And so she said, like, she has been waiting for this pattern to come out, and she's been using her gradient spin with this hat. And she thought that her yarn with the wraps per inch was coming out at worsted weight, but she ended up knitting this gauge sort of like using it as an Aran weight, so that almost like the stitches are a little bit looser, a little bit lighter, not so firm. And so she says that this hat fits her husband perfectly, and so it is now his, and he wears it slouched. And he can also take the brim and fold it up like a watchman's cap. Different ways that you can wear this hat. So if you want to keep your ears a little bit warmer, you can fold it up so that you have 2 layers over your ears when it's very cold. If you didn't know, Robin is in Winnipeg, where it gets crazy, crazy cold, and she says there's like snow up to here, and it gets very, very, very cold over there. So she says that she's hoping to knit another one soon, and she wants to use the pattern with another braid of handspun. Yeah, it's, again, this hat is a really, really great hat to use any handspun that you have, and especially, you know, Robin went from spinning with a spindle, and now I think she's spinning with an e-spinner, I think she is, and she's also spinning with supported spindles this year. So just like a lot of learning and practicing and all of that handspun yarn. What can you do with it? Knit a hat or knit some mitts. Lots of things you can do. This is the other project that she's been working on. She said that she's taken her handspun and she is making the shift. This is the shift cowl designed by Andrea Mowry. And I always talk about how this project, this shift project, when I used my handspun for it, it was one of the most fun experiences I have ever had, because you just don't know what is going to happen. You don't know which colors are going to combine, which color is going to come up next. And it's just really, really fun, like row after row after row, seeing which colors land on each other. And so that turned out really, really great. And so she's working on that still. She says, I'm hooked and will use my handspun as often as I can. And next year, maybe planning to do more projects with handspun yarn. Congratulations on that one. It's nice to see all of the handspun being made into things. Now, this is the last project that I wanted to share with you guys, and it is just spectacular. I mean, we talk about multi-craftual stuff a lot, and I wanted to share this work. This is by Juliet Page, and this is a hand-hooked rug, and she called it Scenic Chesapeake River View. Designed and created by Juliet Page, fall 2024. It is 12 inches by 24 inches. It is hand spun wool and other fibers, and then it's been hooked onto natural linen and then framed. And then she offered this up for a charity auction for the Scenic River Land Trust. It's a nonprofit environmental organization. So she gave this to a charity auction, but it's just absolutely gorgeous beautiful work. And she said there's some indie dyed commercial yarn here and there, some velvet, some wool strips, nothing goes to waste. She says the thing about hooking with hand spun yarn is that it's an easy way to even use like 6 inches of yarn. Like everything can be used as like a little spot. It is spectacular. Elena saying that is spectacular, and it is spectacular. And so she describes it even more. This hand-hooked creation features native goldenrod, black-eyed Susan, and asters, and a scenic rolling farmland and fields overlooking a tree-lined river on the Chesapeake Bay. Um, Yes. So, she's created this color palette, she said, by blending by carding combinations of dyed wool fleece from multiple sheep breeds, other fibers such as silk, bamboo, cotton, soy, alpaca. The hand spinning process gives the artist full control over the yarn size, the twist, grist, plies, and color variation. And the palette includes hand dyed recycled wool cloth, velvet, and then some indie dyed yarn. Absolutely spectacular and amazing. And so I put in here, it's spinning, there's dyeing, there's fiber prep in here, there's rug hooking. There's just so much knowledge of how the fibers work, all of these different fibers, all their properties and all their characteristics, and then to be able to dye them all, or receive them in dyed format, and then to be able to fiber prep, just to blend all of these colors together, and then to have control over color and how colors appear and contrast. Just all of it is really an enormous amount of experience. It's incredible. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of learning about all of these things. And sometimes I think we don't realize that, while we're spinning, we're learning so much about the things that are in our hands. We're not necessarily like reading about it or watching about it on a video or anything like that. Just the fact that it's in your hands and you are working with the materials is giving you so much knowledge and experience inside your own body that you may not be able to measure in any way. Like there's no way to know how much you've learned, but all of those things that you've learned come out in the projects that all of you make. Right? All of the things that you've created, and you've designed socks and you've woven towels, and like the color choices and everything that you choose to make, and every single decision along the way about whether or not you carry yarns up the side or you don't carry the yarns up the side, or how hard to beat, or how much ply twist to add. All of this stuff is experience which cannot be measured, but is amazing, and it's in you. And so that's the part that I'm like really, really excited to share with you all. Up all of these projects is just a celebration of all the things that you've learned, all the things that you've internalized in your own body. So that is kind of where we wanted to end the year of live office hours, and to share all these projects, and hope that you are inspired by some of these, hope that you might pique your curiosity to learn more about some of these different things, and that you're looking forward to 2025. And after maybe a couple of weeks of rest and spending time with your family and your friends, that come to 2025 really refreshed and excited about what you can make and learn in the new year. Really, really excited about all of that. So this is basically the last slide, as always. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of the school. If you have been, with us since the very beginning, since like basically 2017, since we started the school, many people are still in the school since that time, and which is, I find, absolutely incredible. But it's like such a amazing thing that you're part of this community, and you come to all the meetings and you share with everybody, and it is this community that is kind of like inspiring each other. So all of that I find really, really wonderful, and it's a pleasure to serve however we can, and try to be helpful and try to support all of this. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being inside the forums, for being inside the Discord. I will see you guys hopefully on December 20th when we do this sort of holiday celebration, and I hope that you guys will join us for that one. But otherwise, I will see you on this live office hours in January, and otherwise maybe in one of those meetings. So you just check out our events calendar, and hope to see you there. Thank you guys so much for being here. See you guys in the next one.